Joining us now is Ben Fearnow, former news curator of trending topics, who was a contractor working for Facebook and is now deputy editor at Newsweek. We should make clear you were let go by Facebook for violating non-disclosure agreements, and that really had to do with you wanting to let the world know how Facebook was making decisions about what's acceptable to say, whether inside Facebook or on Facebook. Would you do it again the same way? And has Facebook gotten any better about how it communicates around these things?
First off, a leaker on live television, I have to say that the producers are very persuasive. Yes, I feel like, the trending team was, with curating that, just having the human element of trying to beat fake news. Because I feel like at the end of the day, what the curators were there to do was to pick off, these headlines, which are very craftily made, which are there to, to confuse people. And so when you have these stories that are circulating, our job was to look at the algorithm and sort of, massage it was the word that we were told, to ensure that something like The Onion or, a spoof site, things that are clearly like trying to hop on an ongoing trend in order to like make sure they rise to the top. And that we were attempting to just make sure that like none of those stories would come up as if like Facebook was pushing the top story as a real story.
So can you explain how the process worked? For example, like, let's say you saw a headline that you had a question about. Do you take it to a superior who then takes it to another one before something actually changes in the algo?
It was similar to like an editing process, say you would see at any news type of place where you would have, a written, even with the trending topics we would see what was high on the algorithm, which, to be honest, if you look at the raw words that were just what people are typing in, all of those trending topics, if we did not curate them, would probably just say, Kim Kardashian, Donald Trump.
Right.
So part of it was also to create a wider variety of the types of stories that were there. I feel like the wider issue with just Facebook news consumption is, I feel like I'm old enough to remember when Facebook, in the lawless period of Facebook, when, the biggest point of it was to see if your, ex had gotten married.
Absolutely.
But then it's changed now to the point, my grandparents are on it and people who use it, the numbers I think came out right when I first started on the trending team. Which was 2015 heading into obviously 2016, which changed every conversation. But the, the news that was coming up at that time, you have to look at what people, the amount of people that are getting their news solely from Facebook. And I know everyone likes to pick on millennials, but I feel like, if you look at fake news in these large groups, if you want to have that bubble of news like that, you're going to get that regurgitation of information. So I feel like it's hard to say that Facebook could proactively, defeat fake news if you have people who are making a concerted effort to trick others.
Even with thousands of curators on staff.
You could continue to do that, but proactively, as far as it's like with them trying to look at live stream videos, to have people going through all these thousands and thousands and thousands of things. If you have people that are going on there to seek, their own, to reinforce their own mindset, then there are Facebook groups for that. You can always just go back and get your little bubble of information.
So how do you fix this? And I asked this because we were having this conversation earlier on the show, this idea of do we need more human oversight at Facebook in terms of curating this content? Is it a matter of rewriting the algorithms plus setting up a different methodology for the humans that are overseeing the content? Is it something different? Do they just need to get out of the news business, which they're not technically in altogether?
Right. I mean, Facebook, even when I had started there, they sort of were backing their way into being a news media company, which is why when that data came out that showed how many people, were not just getting news there, but exclusively getting their news on Facebook.
Yeah.
I feel like that opens you up to, because remember, they're just a vehicle,
Yeah.
But Facebook then had to sit back and be like, okay, if 75% of a certain age group are getting all of their news from here, then you need those human curators because an algorithm obviously can't do, things will fall through the cracks. I think right after they fired and physically walked out all the humans from the trending office, I think the next day there was some bogus Megyn Kelly story that went up that sounded and looked like, exactly like a real headline would be, but in fact it was just completely made up.
You were pretty fresh out of Columbia Journalism School when you started working on this Facebook team. Is it clear to you who the top journalistic mind at Facebook was and is, and how much real influence that person has over the company's strategic direction?
See, I don't know, that I feel like it's the difference between, I call it the Menlo Park Mafia. I feel like there was such a difference between the New York office and out in Menlo Park because we were always receiving, this micromanaged sort of things about certain stories, like we want more local headlines, don't make just like Trump trend all the time. And I think that it was more, our end of the day thing was to make sure that like something that was just blatantly false didn't show up on the trending news bar to look like we were promoting that story as truth.
Before we let you go, I wonder, in your mind, can you envision a day where this is managed, right? Where these failures don't happen, or is it really like trying to push back the ocean?
I think if you have such a concerted effort from people, whether you want to say it's troll farms or people who just like dispersing, lies out there for political reasons or whatever, it's hard to say that Facebook ever could proactively, take down fake news. I feel like if you're going to do that, take back to your question of someone running it at the top, we were always just receiving information, but it was from people who were sort of like unnamed, sort of like tailoring the news, but we never actually would make a decision of like this story is better than this one. We want Breitbart over a Newsweek story. It's just hard to say that there is a way out on that.
Huh. Well, if it can't be done right, maybe it shouldn't be done. It's not as if this is something that's been around for thousands of years and it's the news feed. That's just the way it is. But
yeah, they don't
thank
have
you.
the level of publisher, responsibility.
Well, maybe they need to figure it out.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.